Hi students, now I am going to teach you about the legislative relation between center and states, which comes under the topic that is Indian Federation. Uh, India is a federal country, a quasi-federal nation according to Kessiware. In the legislative relation, the center enjoys supreme power over the states. The center overpowers some extra legislative functions than the states. The legislative relation has been described in the Constitution of India in Part 11. We know that in the union subjects, the union legislature legislates law. In the state list, the state legislature forms law, and in the concurrent list, both the union and the states cooperatively legislate laws. But in some cases we see the center, the union has some special power over the state subjects. Now I am focusing before all of you about this extra power of union in respect legislative relation, legislative functions. The first is longest union list, which contains 97 subjects. All these are said as national important subjects, and over these subjects, the union parliament, the union legislature makes law. And the second thing is, in case of concurrent list, we know that the center and the state's legislature make law. But here, if any conflict arises between union law and state's law, then the union law prevails over. The state's law is rejected. And the third is, in case of residuary power, which has been explained under Article 248, in case of India, the residuary power is being given to the union, but in America and Switzerland, it is to the states. So it shows the supremacy of the union over the states. In the state subjects, in the state list, the state legislature, the state legislative assembly make law generally. But in some particular cases, the center enjoys certain particular power to make law on state subjects, and these are one by one I am going to teach you. The first is, during national emergency, the union government legislates law on the state subjects, because at that time the state legislative assembly is being either suspended or dissolved. The governor rules the state, and the second is, The central legislation during the proclamation of constitutional emergency in a state under Article 356. At the time of this proclamation, the center enjoys right to make law on the state subjects. The governor, on the behalf of the union, as the representative of the president, administers, governs the state by the direction of the union. There are some state bills which need the president's prior recognition. In order to floor in the state legislative assembly. For example, the trade and commerce among states. And some bills are reserved for the president's assent by the governor. Even after its pass in the state legislative assembly. It depends on the president's pleasure to pass it or not. If the president passes, then it comes to an act. If not, then it is rejected. Then central legislation with the consent of two or more states. If two or more state legislature by passing a resolution in their respective legislative assemblies by two-third majority support request to the union parliament to make law on the state subjects. After that, the union parliament can legislate law, and that law made by the union parliament exists for the 1 year. For another 1 year, it can be extended with the passing of resolution in the house by two-third majority support. The center can legislate law in the state subjects in order to give effect to in order to implement any principle of signed international agreements. There is also superior status of the union law over the state laws. The state law has no power to exceed, power to disobey or violate the union law. The state law has to respect and obey, implement the union law. It is the parliament's power to establish or abolish the state legislative council. If any state wants to establish or abolish state legislative council, in this regard, the concerned state has to pass a resolution in the house, in the legislative assembly, with two-third majority support and request to the union parliament to do so. In this, by this request, the Union Parliament could establish or abolish the Legislative Council. So it is Union Parliament's power. It is also the power of the Union Parliament to determine or change the state boundary. The states doesn't have such right to change or determine their boundary. It depends on the Union Parliament. The Union Parliament too has power to make law for the governance ruling of the Union territories. The Territories governance completely depends on the Union government or the Union Parliament. So all these analysis prove that the Union has supremacy, supreme power, major power in respect of legislative relation over the states. So this is the topic of today, the legislative relation between center and states. Kindly subscribe, like and view my channel, and do not forget to give your valuable comment about this class. Thank you very much.